What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we do have a OP-04 video. Obviously all the cards aren't completely in the TCG sim yet, but we are running Vivi. I have put a copious amount of time into trying this deck out, and I'm really excited to bring this to you today because this was a really cool matchup. I had not faced an Issho deck yet, so I didn't know what to expect going into the matchup, but I know it's black, and if they aren't green heavy, then they're going to expend a lot of resources really fast. So my initial thoughts here with getting the Zoro out was just go ahead and get that early game in versus having to wait to use Vivi's effect. We just have the Rush Zoro to just plop it down and swing for 5, which is fine. The Garp is kind of an issue, but at the same time, it's an early game issue that can be taken care of, especially with something like 3000 Worlds that place one character with the cost of 5 or less at the bottom of the owner's deck. So once you have a little bit more Dawn established, it's fine to play. They go ahead and swing to the Zoro. There's no point in saving it. It served its purpose of getting that first turn like swing in. With Vivi being able to give things rush, we're good. And from here, it's kind of like, do we go with the Garp? Do we go with the X-Drake? Because the X-Drake does, with Dawn ×1, give all their Navy characters or Supernovas plus 1,000 for the turn, which could be very problematic if it's not addressed in a timely manner. So from here, I'm just like, was trying to make the thought process of, do I set up my board? Do I go ahead and get rid of things? But I'm going to give it Rush. I definitely think this may not have been the correct play, but if I would have played the 3000 Worlds, I would have had a Dawn hanging, and the only thing it would have served a purpose to is maybe an early game guard point or Radical Beam. That's what I was trying to think of. So I just thought, try to get another swing in, and worst comes to worst, I'm starting to get resources out of their hand. The 2 cards set up on their board, though I really don't want to see them on the board, is fine. We take the first life, no problem. I've really learned not to like dedicate too much resources to protecting that first life. That was a big issue I feel I was having in the past. So from there, they do play the Garp that you can tap and, you know, get rid of a 4 or less character. And then the Issho ability in the turn, if they have a Dawn active, they can set one of their 5 or lower cost characters, you know, back to unrested. So from here, we're going to play the 3000 Worlds, and I think we're just going to take care of the Garp. Put it back at the bottom of the deck. That way they can't rest and keep cycling out my characters that I play as I get them set up. And from here, I'm just making the choice between what 3-drop to just set on the board and set up. I realized really fast that if I kept trying to utilize Vivi's ability, which is an issue I had when I initially started testing this deck, I was just going to keep losing my board state. There was going to be no saving the board state if I just go in, activate ability, tap, or not tap, but rest the character, just swing, maybe not even get a hit in, and then they just take care of the character. So we set up the board, but even though I think my concept of thinking was correct, they do get rid of that Zoro with Tashigi and Zoro or Garp combo. But we do 2k out of an attack on life. We're down to 2 life, so I wasn't really sure what to think about where this was going, because we do get the advantage of having 5 life as a dual color leader, even though they can't swing. But we do 3000 Worlds the X-Drake, so they don't get an extra boost. And from there, we're going to Koza and use the ability to give our leader negative 5000 power to boost our power by 2k. And from here, they have to decide if the Garp's worth keeping, and obviously it's not. It's not worth allocating resources to whenever you're playing what ended up being a very black heavy deck, and you're already allocating resources constantly out of the hand, and there's just not enough recursion at this point for black to in my opinion, as a black player, I play a lot of smoker. You have to be really picky about what you do and don't let go of. At this point, I did feel that the Koza, I had lost so many bodies off the board, the Koza was worth keeping, but it wasn't really worth giving a 2k counter to. So we do get rid of the 5-drop Zoro. We draw the Vista, and honestly in this game it didn't come up. The Vistas come up a good bit, but I think it is something that is strictly early game, unless you can, you know, reduce costs, which you really don't do with this deck. So It may get cut in the future. This is actually the same build I was playing live the other day. It's the initial build that I kind of been testing with and kind of working with. I have another build with this deck, but that one will be worked on more once the rest of OP-04 is added to the simulator. I'm just checking out Dawn, making sure I'm mathing correctly. This deck, with the copious amount of time, I think in total I spent like a cumulative 8 or 9 hours testing this deck before I got a singular win with it. I learned to really take my time to math out my Dawn and calculate exactly how I'm moving forward in my turn, even if that means taking a minute or two. They do counter out of the attack with Koza, which is what we wanted to accomplish. We use Vivi's effect to draw a card and then give Pell Rush. We're going to keep one for the Radical Beam, and we're going to use Pell to swing, use the ability to get rid of a 4K or lower power character to rid the board of the Tashigi, and they have to 3K out of this if they don't want to take a life, but they do have the Punk Gibson in hand, and luckily there was nothing for them to utilize the second ability of Gibson with, so we're going to go ahead and pass back to them. I've definitely learned how to mitigate not being able to swing with this leader. Koza really helps with that, being able to just give her negative 5K power just for the turn, but then his 2K stays throughout your opponent's turn, so they don't have to face down a 3K character. They're facing a 5K character, which makes it easier to counter out of attacks. They do swing with the Kuzan and give the Pell -4. It doesn't really come up for anything else, I don't believe, but we do Rad Beam out of that because the Pell is like essential at this moment to be able to help rid extra bodies off the board so they don't get an extra swing in. We have plenty of 2K counters here, but the Sasaki is the one we don't want to use because, as you'll see, I think in a turn or two, the Sasaki comes in clutch to be able to throw down for 3 cost and completely revitalize your hand. Like, we're at a point where we don't have too many 2K counters. It may actually be this turn if I'm remembering correctly, but essentially we don't have too many 2K counters. Oh man, 3K counters would be great. So I'm just calculating out what to do here, but I believe I play the Sasaki, deploy it, hopefully get some 2K counters. That doesn't happen, but we do get to use the ability to also draw another card and give Sasaki Rush. And so now we have a couple of 1K counters, 1 2K counter, and a Rad Beam that is active for the 4K counter if needed. So calculating out my Dawn here, I'm just gonna figure out how exactly I want to swing. They only have the Borsellino, so you do want to swing in a way that's going to effectively, if they do decide to block, they're still going to have to give up cards out of the hand to counter, so no matter what, you're making them give up resources. And with Koza's ability, just 1 Dawn will suffice to bump up to 6. So if they want to use that Borsellino, they'll still have to counter out, or they have to counter out this way. Either which way, we're getting cards out of the hand. Pell now will swing, get rid of the Branu, and they have to decide if they want to counter out or take a life. They decide to go ahead and take the life, so we have now kind of evened the playing field a little bit as far as the life count goes. And then from there, it's now their turn. They have the Borsellino, which at this point in time, if I was them, I would not want to use because it is a blocker to help mitigate how many swings they have to take. They're going to stack up on the Kuzan, and I believe they swing into the Pell. The Pell is very essential right now. Like, there have been games where I've just kind of been like, Pell's not that essential. Rad Beam did not need to be used for life in this game. We saved the Pell, and then they're going to swing into Pell again, which tells me they're very scared of the Pell. They don't know how to deal with the Pell other than swinging on it to get rid of it. And though it was a little bit, risky giving that many resources up, we have 3 swings on board, plus, as you'll see right now, we have the Zoro double taking, just playing it out there, for reasons. They do have 2 up for an impact wave, and that does kind of mess this turn up, but I'm just kind of mathing out exactly how I want to play the cards for the turn and exactly which way I'm going to go about it. So essentially, Borsellino being one of the best blockers in the game, if not the best blocker in the game, cannot be KO'd by effects. I'm debating on attaching to the Sasaki here, but I think the smarter move, which is what I end up going with, is we're going to attach 1 or 2 Dawn to Koza. I was mathing things out there. We do 1 Dawn, so it is a 6k, so if they do decide to block again, they have to also get rid of resources out of the hand. They do impact wave though. While I was playing, I didn't notice that they had 2 Dawn up, or else I would have been a little bit better about that. But the Sasaki does get KO'd, which kind of messes things up. But now we're going to play the Zoro. We're going to give the Zoro rush to get that extra swing in for turn. We did draw a 2k counter as well for the next turn. And then Pell will come in handy here because we don't have an event to worry about mitigating or allocating Dawn to. So we're going to go ahead and get a 7k swing in here. Same reasoning, if they block, they have to get rid of resources. I think they're kind of low on resources because they took the life. But we do get rid of the Kuzan. It takes the body off board for them to swing with. They 2k out and keep the Borsellino on board, which is fine because even with 2 swings, I have a 2k counter and 2 life, so I can live through that. And also, they need to deal with my board. At this point, if they do not deal with my board in some way, shape, or form, there's really no way they get past at least 1 more turn. So at this point, I think they are just kind of deciding on exactly how they're going to move forward. Personally, you swing with the Issho first, just to see what you can get out. But they swing with a 7k Borsellino, which kind of threw me off. I know they're just trying to get resources out of my hand, but I'm fine with giving up the 2k counter here, because even with Issho swinging big, at this point, I can lose the Pell. I still have 2 swings on board. Even through the Borsellino, we can get through it, no problem. Now, the Sabo I thought was going to be an issue, but we do draw this 4-drop Usopp, but it has 5k attack. And essentially my thought process here was, if I can get rid of these blockers, they're going to have to block something, and then I can swing again. That still only leaves them with 2 swings on their turn. Plus, they need to keep resources in hand in order to be able to counter out. At this point, I'm just calculating my Dawn, deciding exactly where I'm going to allocate it for the turn. And I don't remember exactly how I swing here. I think I end up giving, because I'm going to need 4 for Usopp, 2 for the ability, so that only leaves me with 4 Dawn available to utilize. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and swing with 7 with Koza using his ability. That way, if they block, they have to 2k out, as they did with the Borsellino. And then from here, I make the mistake of, I think I swing on the Borsellino. I know I'm double checking my Dawn, and I'm also deciding on how I want to be able to swing with Usopp, because they have the most they have in their hand is a 2k counter. So as long as I can force them to have to 2k out of something, we get a resource out of their hand. This Zoro, I've learned to actually really utilize it. But I decided I want to swing big with the Usopp, so just 6 into the Borsellino. Either which way, they have to use the resource out of their hand if they want to keep it. But yeah, that was me acknowledging that there's a Sabo still on board, and I will need to deal with another blocker, but that's fine. We'll go ahead and go 7. They have no counters, they have no events. So we're going to swing on the Borsellino and get rid of the blocker that we know we can get rid of. I mean, either which way, it is what it is. We're getting rid of something. They only have 2 swings on board. We have 3 bodies they have to deal with, 2 life, and we have the Gum Gum Red Rock. I did not touch on the fact that that was the card we drew off Vivi's ability. So even if the Sabo stays on board, we 6-drop the Sabo off the board, and then we have plenty of swings. But they do get rid of the Zoro there. I don't have much counter power. They had nothing to utilize this Kobe with. In my opinion, you should have kept the Kobe in hand for a counter, just in case I, goofed up. But they do swing with the Sabo, which takes the concept of the counter or the blocker off the board, because now we can just swing without anything being blocked, and I don't have to use 6 of my Dawn. Or so I thought, because I forget about Issho's ability to restand a 5 cost or lower. So I do have to Gum Red Rock there to get rid of the blocker. We're going to deploy the Zoro just in case we have to go another turn. And then we go 6 drop into the Issho. And even though they can go to its swings on me, I'm going to live through it. And that is the game. So, as you can see, I think with this deck in particular, I've spent so much time with it. It's really made me focus up and take time with my turns. And this was literally the first game I jumped into since the live stream from the other day. And it just felt really good to once again go up against another deck that was new and did not know what to expect with it, and just end up with the dub. So I really wanted to share this gameplay with you guys and just go over things with it. So if you like what you saw, hit that like button. If you're new here and you want to see more OP-04 games and OP-03 games alike, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Let's grow the community a little bit more. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you later. Peace.